I completely agree with Julia that the coming of the smart train creates a great opportunity to kind of reimagine urban design and land use in this part of Santa Rosa. And smart certainly has a role to play here, although it really cannot be accomplished by smart. It's really going to take the local government and community to be able to make some of these ideas happen. They may be short run, they may be long run, but I think this is a great process for that. And it's coming at kind of an interesting time, because at SMART we're actually in the process at the moment, right at the moment, of trying to make a final decision about where exactly the station should be in this part of Santa Rosa. There are a couple different options, and I'll touch on that. And also the city of Santa Rosa, and I think Lisa Krantz will talk about this more, is very likely about to receive a big grant from MTC to do a station area plan. And so the thinking that comes out of this event and the competition can help to inform SMART's decisions about station location potentially, but also more importantly, can inform some of the station design decisions that we're going to be making as well, or moving into a station design process, and could inform the city's specific plan as well. So just to promise just one slide, general background on SMART here. I think most people are pretty familiar with what we're talking about. It's a commuter rail system that's in the implementation stages now. We'll be connecting from Larkspur at the northern end of Sonoma County, Cloverdale, I'm sorry, at the northern end of Sonoma County all the way down to Larkspur, near the ferry terminal in Marin County. Altogether it's about 70 miles with 14 stations, 28 trains per day. In this particular location at Jennings, it's probably going to be 24 trains per day. Petaluma is the spot where, based on our current timetable, there will be 28, but in other locations it's 24. Half-hour service in the peaks, a little bit less frequent during the midday. This project is at about a roughly 5 to 30% level of design, depending upon which component you're talking about. So right now we're in the process of advancing that design, and we'll be throughout 2010 and into 2011, and then we'll be moving into a construction phase with service beginning in fall of 2014, hopefully. Here's a little bit more on the schedule. This is a schedule related specifically to the station design work. There's a lot of different elements and components of the SMART project. Bridges that need to be designed and built, a whole civil design for the track, there's a pathway, maintenance facility, et cetera, but this is just kind of related to station designs. We've selected a station design team, architect-led, with a whole bunch of different subs. We're currently negotiating a contract right now with that team. We hope to have a contract in place for station design by December, with a notice to proceed coming shortly after that. So probably in January, in earnest, our station design team is going to get to work advancing the designs of these stations. We're really only at about a 5% level of design right now. We've got sketches. Basically, we don't even have anything in CAD, so we're going to be rapidly advancing the design. By summer, we hope to be to about a 20% level of design. We're calling it advanced conceptual engineering. And then beyond summer, we'll be advancing at 30, 60, 90, up to 100% design by the end of 2011. Construction on the stations probably won't begin until 2012, and then a 2-year construction phase, and then some vehicle testing before we open in the fall of 2014. So what kind of work are we going to be doing over that 6-month period from January of next year till about June of next year? We're calling it advanced conceptual engineering, so we're going to be doing some kind of site information gathering, some survey and geotechnical work on some of our sites. We're going to be having 2 public workshops for each station site, at least that's the plan as of now. So for what we're calling the North Santa Rosa station, we had been kind of calling the Jennings station. The name is a little bit up in the air, and maybe this process can help us figure out a name as well. But we will be having probably 2 public workshops dedicated to that station in the spring. Then we're going to be developing a detailed site plan, developing the station components, so the canopies of the stations, the lighting standards, the paving treatments, the landscaping, all these things will be designed, and maybe even be some some art incorporated into them, or they may just be artistic things in and of themselves. Signage, branding, kind of coming with an overall aesthetic for the stations will be kind of part of this work, and then there'll be some basic engineering work that comes with advancing the station design, civil, mechanical, electrical, structural, etc. On the right, I just stole some photographs from the web. Hopefully I won't get in trouble from anyone for doing this. But these are all DMU projects that are happening, that are in existence in other parts of the country. DMU stands for Diesel Multiple Unit. It's the kind of trains that we'll be running, as opposed to, say, a locomotive haul where a big locomotive pulls a bunch of cars. At the top, you've got the West Line in Portland. In the middle, the new DMU project in Austin, Capital Metro, and then at the bottom is the Sprinter Line in San Diego. So the basic concept of the stations is we're not going to have big depot buildings. We don't really need depot buildings as railroads once did, when people had their luggage with them, or were staying overnight, or maybe there was depots being used for freight, that sort of thing. We don't need that. We'll be vending tickets through ticket vending machines, so there won't necessarily be a person at a window selling you the ticket. There'll be ticket vending machines on the platform. So there'll be relatively simple affairs with platforms and lighting, maps, windscreens, canopies, ticket vending machines, etc. We identified a station location for this part of Santa Rosa in our EIR. I think it was actually chosen maybe around 2002. It's been defined for some time, and it's at the Union Pacific Y site. Union Pacific owns the property. It's a big piece of property, kind of at the corner of Francis and Range, a big vacant site adjacent to the rail line. That's the site that we identified. This is a conceptual site plan for that station. It can fit about 630 parking spaces. That would make it, if we built all those spaces, the biggest park and ride lot in the SMART system. At the other station site at Railroad Square, we're not going to have any parking at all. The concept was for urban stations, in order for the stations to fit nicely into the urban fabric. We were not going to have any parking, but owing to the reality that this is also a suburban environment where a lot of people drive and lots of people want to know that they can have a parking space at SMART, the other station in Santa Rosa was going to be a place that could have some parking so that people could drive with the SMART system. As of now, kind of looking at two platforms at the station site, probably. There will be some bike storage facilities here, racks, lockers, maybe a bike station, maybe a bike cage where you use a smart car to get in. We're still kind of thinking through some of the alternatives. And at this particular site, there's a pretty decent connection to the junior college at Bear Cub if the overcrossing has been proposed over Highway 101 gets built, and if the sort of southern alignment of that crossing is the one that's implemented, it would dovetail pretty nicely with this station site. But there is an alternative to that site, and Lois Fisher is going to be talking about that a bit more in her presentation. It would be moving the station up to Guerneville Road, which is a little bit more well-known spot. There's some pros and cons to doing this. I won't get into all the details of those pros and cons. Lois will probably tell you a lot about the pros there, but we're going to have to weigh this. So the things that we have to consider when looking at these two alternatives are: what are the cost implications for SMART? How does it affect SMART's budget, both in terms of the short-term, the capital expenses, and the long-term operating and maintenance costs? If we move the station up to Guerneville, what sorts of numbers of parking spaces are we going to get? We definitely want to have a decent component of parking, but parking also has diminishing returns. You know, as you start getting up to 400, 500, 600 spaces, each additional space is kind of less valuable at that point. But we need to think about what's a reasonable amount of parking to have. There are variations in how well these two different station sites would be served by transit. And also they vary in how easy they are to access by pedestrians and bicycles. A lot could hinge upon where a pedestrian overcrossing might be over 101, or whether there is one at all. We've already done our CEQA work for our site that was in our EIR. If we move our station location, we'll have to do some additional CEQA work. And there's some implications with that, a little bit of expense and also some timing implications. We have to move pretty quickly to keep this station from being out of the critical path, basically being something that would be delaying the whole project, or could itself get delayed and not be ready when